Guyana and other Caribbean countries that export seafood and agricultural products to the United States can experience a serious economic downturn if they are not compliant with the United States Modernization Act. Some components of that act have already started to kick in. This is according to Managing Director of Technological Solutions Limited, Dr. Andre Gordon. Speaking to Nightly News on the sidelines of an event on Monday, Dr. Gordon said that some components of that act have already begun to have a negative impact.
So already, even before this year, and this year is very significant, exporters would have seen more of their goods being held at U.S. port of entry, and manufacturers in the U.S., because this is not discriminatory, it affects all food. Manufacturers in the U.S., people in food service would have seen a lot more visits from the Food and Drug Administration and inspection.
In 2016, the first component of what is called the Preventive Controls for Human Foods rule came into being. That rule basically makes the full impact of food safety regulations mandatory on all persons involved in the food industry.
That act, that component, kicks in for all exporters to the U.S. from the Caribbean because of our size on September 18th this year. So in essence, if you are not aware and you're not prepared by September 18th, even if you had no problems before, you're going to see a significant change in the way your goods are handled.
Equally as important, even small exporters who do not export to the United States but supply companies that export there will have to come up to speed.
So if they work with DDL, if they work with banks, if they work with New GPC, if they work with Sterling, and I just call those names, or any other, if they work with the Bihari Group, any other exporter to the US, if they work with the seafood companies, if they supply anything to them, they fall under this act even though they don't export anything.
Dr. Gordon suggested that exporters are now buckling under pressure as compliance day draws near, and the date for some has already passed.
Why is this important to Guyana? Well, I don't know if most Guyanese know that Guyana is the fourth largest exporter of sauces. Sauces and spices in the Caribbean, and that's significant because Guyana really only started exporting significantly maybe about 5 to 10 years ago. Also, Guyana is one of the largest seafood exporters to the US, as well as other things. So it covers sugar, it covers rice, everything you export that could end up in the US that you supply is covered. That once it's an agricultural item is covered by this act. So what it means is that you could see a significant fallout, economic fallout, if companies don't comply.
According to the United States Food and Drug Administration's website, the United States Food Safety Modernization Act was passed in 2011 and began implementation in May of that year. Various components of that act have been rolling out from 2011 up until now. Roy Den James, HGP, Nightly News.